Give you a second. Yes. Okay. We will now call this meeting to order. This time, if you could stand for a moment of silence. All right. Ms. Martin, can you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving into the public comment section. At this time, we will have public comments. I had some folks who have signed up. There will still be an opportunity for those who forgot to sign up to speak as well. You're given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address for the record. If you're with a group, you are allowed 5 minutes to speak. Please identify the group that you wish to speak for. At this time, we will have Mr. Reed, or you got your phone to be timekeeper today? All right, so at this time, we will have Rebecca Allen, and it appears you are with a group today.
My name is Rebecca
Can you make sure the
Allen.
mic's on? The green light.
There you go.
Perfect. You break down too.
So my name is Rebecca Allen. I reside at 114 Grimes Drive, Madison Heights, Virginia. However, I am a Nelson County Public School employee. So good afternoon, members of the board. I am Rebecca Allen, and I am the president of the Nelson County Education Association. I am appealing to the board to reevaluate your position regarding the Nelson County Schools budget and to approve an increase in the local contributions by reinstating the additional $1 million in accordance with the vote on June 14th. NCPS is grateful for the board's approval of an increase in funding this year, and the allocation is being utilized to address known salary issues within our division. I know that this is an unprecedented request, but our school division is navigating unprecedented times as a result of the pandemic and now inflation. Before I elaborate, I want to publicly thank Mr. Reed for the time he spends each month attending NCPS school board meetings. Through his attendance, he gains firsthand knowledge regarding the needs and issues our school board faces when making decisions both in operations and financially. He also has taken the time to meet with me personally to gain insight about the division from my perspective as a teacher, NCEA officer, and parent. NCPS is the largest employer in the county, and as such comes with its own set of responsibilities. Some of these responsibilities are just what comes with being a rural school division. Others are the result of trying to be the best school system we can offer the children of Nelson. As of the end of June, the division employs a staff of 293, with 58% of those employees residing within county limits. This monumental monetary request primarily impacts our own residents. It is important for you to know that 86% of our support staff live within Nelson. The bulk of these additional funds would go to an increasing the minimum hourly wage to make it competitive with what surrounding businesses are offering within the county and beyond its borders. NCEA believes that this not only is something that our instructional assistants, custodians, cafeteria workers, office staff, and bus drivers deserve, but something that is essential to the success of our students and schools. By implication, the additional money these residents earn will likely be spent here, continually fueling the Nelson economy. Increased wages for our hourly workers will make an impactful difference in the lives of these staff members, easing the burden of today's economy. By voting for this increase in funding, you are showing these employees that you recognize their value as key components of our community and school division, which without we could not operate. If the school system can't offer competitive wages, then we can't expect to attract or retain the best employees. Our children deserve to be cared for by the best, as they are our community's most important resource and represent its future. By not supporting this additional funding, the board is communicating that the stated purpose of these funds is not a priority. A vote to provide additional funding is an investment in the future of Nelson County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Regina Campbell.
Regina Campbell, 2803 Dark Hollow Road, Roseland. I am a Nelson native. I attended and graduated from Nelson County Public Schools. I am currently employed as an instructional assistant for our school division and have been since 2015. I also have 2 children that attend Nelson schools. I'd like to start by expressing my thankfulness for the $1.5 million that you all did add to the school's budget. That is truly a historic number, so thank you. Although historic, I think we can all agree these are also historic and unprecedented times. The recent actions by the board regarding the additional school funding were disappointing to hear. But those questionable actions have turned open eyes and gained the attention of so many Nelson residents and employees. It is my hope that we will continue to be more informed about the board's actions, as well as continue to hold you all accountable for your actions. Moving forward, I respectfully request that the board be more aware of the fact that the budget is more than just numbers on paper. Those numbers represent the people and families of Nelson, including myself and so many others in this room today. And your actions can and do impact our lives in both positive and negative ways. As I become more informed, I ask the board to take the time to reevaluate your priorities. I find it irresponsible and inconsiderate for current departments and employees for the board to continue to push forward with 20-year plans by purchasing land, contracting developmental studies, and reserving millions in bank accounts for future collateral, while so many departments are experiencing financial hardships and continually requesting additional funding. Our county departments deserve full funding, and our employees deserve both sufficient and competitive pay. Goals and plans are great, and I don't disagree with Nelson needing to offer a little more in the future. I do, however, disagree with pushing forward with future hopes and dreams while neglecting current funding needs. If you can't adequately fund what you already have, how do you plan to fund and maintain future expansion projects too? Thank you.
Regina. Amy Woodson.
Hi, Amy Woodson. I reside at 500 Log Cabin Trail, Livingston. So my name is Amy Woodson. I was born and raised in Nelson County. As a parent of 3 children and an active volunteer in my children's school, I can tell you firsthand how important teachers, teacher aides, substitutes, support staff, janitors, cafeteria workers, and bus drivers are to my children. These individuals go above and beyond for the education and overall well-being of our children and treat them like their own. These individuals are not only county staff, but they are also our neighbors, friends, and family. These individuals create relationships with our children while educating them. Given the importance of support staff to the success of the nation's schools, teacher and support staff pay today is shamefully low in many parts of the country. The days of patting them on the back and telling them great job is over. If we want to provide continuity and consistency for our children, then we need to provide monetary compensation. I was elated to hear the initial funding that our schools would see, and disgusted and frustrated to hear that what was voted on and approved was withdrawn. What a slap in the face to these important individuals who support, educate, transport, and nurture our children. Those who made the decision to recant the approval should be held accountable. When are we as a community and a nation going to start realizing the importance of these individuals who are putting their children above all else? Due to the stresses of COVID and school shootings, it seems counties are losing school staff at an all-time high. So for the ones who continue to stay, as hard as it may be, when do we start showing them how much they are valued? You can't put a dollar sign on their value, but you can damn well try. We need to invest in education more than ever, and there are members on this board that have shown that education is not their priority. Thank you for the opportunity to voice my concerns.
Thank you. Michael Hebner.
My name is Michael Hebner, 1146 8 Isle Road in Fauber, and I'm speaking as the co-founder of City Elders, which is a group of about 40. Mr. Chairman, I'm here representing City Elders to speak about the incident on June the 28th, following the school board meeting involving Mr. Cesar Perkins, which is a school board member representing the South District, and Mr. Jesse Rutherford, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors representing the East District. We've all read the article on July 1st, 2022, of the News Advance, written by Ms. Emma Martin. We all, while we know that news articles are not a substitute for an investigation and official statements, the scene that was portrayed was disturbing. We recognize that sometimes passionately representing those who have been elected to represent can erupt in intense disagreements. We believe that when that happens, everyone directly involved, along with the community at large, should deserve the right to protection of our law enforcement officials in a non-biased manner, both at the time of the incident and subsequent reports, both internal and external to the department. We are waiting to read the official report filed by the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. We have filed a FOIA request and are awaiting that response. We believe that the only way forward is that a full and transparent investigation should be concluded to confirm the facts of this case so that the residents of Nelson can be confident that those involved receive fair and appropriate treatment. Thank you, Board, for your time.
Peter, I don't know how to say your last name. Brian, sorry, that looked like a name.
My name is Peter Bryan. I reside at 513 Sunset Drive in Amherst, Virginia, and I'm here representing the Jefferson Council. The Jefferson Council is a group of University of Virginia alumni and a number of other concerned citizens. And I recognize that this particular issue is not on the agenda today before the Board of Supervisors, but I did want to make a public comment in opposition to the change of the name of the Jefferson-Madison Regional Library. In today's headlines, it seems as though the change of the name of a library is a minor event and merits no attention, but we cannot lose sight of the importance that Mr. Jefferson and Mr. Madison represent for this country, our community, and all of the freedoms that we enjoy today. They formed the foundation for perhaps not reaching it in their lifetimes, but they formed the foundation for equality and justice for all that we still strive to reach today. And to remove their names from a public institution such as the regional library just is reprehensible. I implore and encourage, pick an adjective, the Board of Supervisors to stand with Greene County and with Louisa County and pass a resolution in opposition to the change to the name of the regional library. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we do not have anyone else who has signed up for the public comments. Is there anyone else? Yes, feel free. Oh, did you want to speak?
I didn't sign up.
Yeah, come on up. You got 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
Robert Gubish, 334 Rainbow Ridge, Fobble. And I say bravo to that man. I've been hearing stories about the 20-year plan for Nelson County, and I think we should have a 1-month plan to figure out what exactly was the real story behind the COVID story. Because the COVID story was very deceptive, and if anybody researches it, as many in this country have, there was actual criminality behind that. Deception, lies, and speaking of school systems and children, nobody had a mask our children, ever. That was completely uncalled for. The reaction to the COVID story was worse than the COVID. So I think we should have a 1-month plan for the board to find all the information that's available to many people, which I've seen. There are books written, there are lectures being given around the country. The facts are coming out, like it or not, and we've been duped. And I think that should be the biggest concern, because it's not gone. There's a lot to this story that is criminal. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Okay, hearing none. We close public comments. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have minutes for approval, budget amendment, VA 250 commission and tax refund. Barring any questions in reference to these, is there a motion to approve it as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Potter. Do we have support? Unless there's a question.
I'll second.
We have a second from Mr. Reed. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to presentations, Firefly Fiber broadband update. We have Mr. Creekmore and Mr. Wood. And first and foremost, we'd like to congratulate Mr. Creekmore with the birth of his child. Yeah, come on up. And as I was jokingly said in the Broadband Authority, he's so committed to the Firefly project, he named his child Firefly. I think Jesse would have something to say.
Right.
But thank you all for coming today. We appreciate it. And this update on fiber, as you've given to the Broadband Authority, support to the county, and we look forward to seeing where we're at and where we're headed.
Appreciate that.
So I'm gonna run through this real quickly. I brought Galen up because he may know more than me on any number of things. Several of the board members saw this earlier, so I'm gonna step through it fairly quickly. This is a map of the county with the yellow areas showing the areas that have AEP electric service where we are doing work from now to year end to complete the build out in the AEP area. The blue area is all either Central Virginia electric service area or in areas where we get CARES funding and it moved outside the CVC area to provide broadband service. And there are a couple of large areas at the top that I'll talk about on this next map, which is what the county will look like at the end of the year. So the blue area at the end of the year, this represents all of the areas that will be that will have fiber connected gigabit speed broadband service available in the blue. The orange up at the top, and there's a few up around Afton along 250 there, and over at Love there's about 30. We'll finish that up next year as part of our overall RISE project. So there's some different ways you have to build to get into those. But the blue area will cover about 10,500 out of the 10,700, let's say 10,550 out of 10,700 locations of businesses, homes, cabins, places that could take broadband service. This map, I think, is important because this is a real testament to what the county has done going back to 2009 when they first started the very first broadband project and had a lot of foresight to start building fiber. The level of fiber connectivity in Nelson County will be one of the highest in the state and nation. If you look at some of the largest counties and wealthiest counties in the state, and think of Fairfax and Loudoun and Chesterfield, and they have a lot of cable that they depend on, which doesn't give you the speeds that gigabit service broadband has. So in terms of the fastest internet and at very competitive prices, this is where we're going to be at year end as far as the connections being available. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the detail of how we've still got to, what we've got to do to get there. We will still be connecting people who want service into the first part of next year, but we should have the backbones available throughout the county if everything goes well. Here's where we are today. We've passed just under 8,900, have service available today, about $32 million already in investment. When we started our CVEC project in 2018, I came to you and told you that we would be putting $25 million worth of investment in the county. So we beat that. That includes some areas outside of the CVEC area, and we still have more to do. We have 4,585 total connections in the county right now, internet and phone. Nelson County has the highest number of passings from Firefly and of connections from Firefly out of the 13 counties in Green. So done more here faster and it's been well accepted. Fiber Hut, last week, this is the final piece of the Central Virginia Electric Co-op service area. The Fiber Hut was set at Massey's Mill last week and electricity was connected to it today. We are actually about 75% complete on one part of the build out up there. We're about 50% complete on the entire Massey's Mill CVC area. We still have some work to do to finish that up. We want to finish it up by July. We have 40 poles that we still have to either change out or do work on to make room for fiber. Our make-ready contractors were a slowdown at the end of the project. We had some issues getting the contractor and then a subcontractor to stay on the job and get it complete. So they're back and doing work now, and we're down to about 40 poles to change out, and then we'll get the fiber across all of that area. After that, in August, we'll be doing splicing, and then the final connections in that area will start after that in CVC. So think September timeframe, September, October to start the connections there. Now let's get outside the CVC area. This is AEP down in Arrington. We have put up all the fiber there. We have a railroad crossing that keeps us right now from being connected back to the lit side of the network on the other side of the tracks. So we've got the fiber up. We had to put in a temporary light source here to kind of fake the laser light so that we could do splicing and get it connected, and that's all ready to go. We just need to get this crossing at the railroad. We've had the permit for 3 months, but they haven't been able to schedule their flaggers for the couple of hours it will take us to put up our fiber. We're continuing to work with the railroad. We have the same issue at Shipman. The permit, we haven't had as long there, but it takes them a while. We've paid all the permit fees. There's nothing that's holding us up other than them deciding it fits in their schedule.
Who is they?
This is North Southern in this case. In Shipman, we've completed all of the fiber construction all the way down to where you come into the Central Virginia area along 56. Again, the railroad crossing up here is keeping us from getting connected to the fiber on the other side and the light to be able to light this up. They're about 75% or more complete on the splicing here. Once the splicing is complete, really the only thing that we need to be able to connect people is that railroad crossing. So this one, the permit took a while to get. I think we may have that. Last month we were still waiting on that, but then we still got to get a crossing scheduled there. Down at Schuyler, we have finished make-ready construction. AEP has been a little behind on their make-ready construction. They've actually been a lot behind. We've been pushing to try to catch it up. We asked for all of these 3 areas to be complete last December. Parts of this area were sent over to us in March and April. Schuyler was just finished by AEP last week. So we'll start putting fiber up soon. As soon as we finish the CVC fiber build, we'll put them right over and build that 10 miles or so. In these 3 areas, the Arrington, Shipman, and Schuyler area, we have about 400 people signed up for service today. We have about 630 homes and businesses who passed, and 400 are signed up for service. So there's a significant need, and we need to get those railroad crossings and then get AEP moving a little quicker so we can get to these services. Here's a couple other areas where AEP is working today. They have 3 crews working on their make-ready. We have asked them we think they need 8. And they're having a hard time finding the resources and assigning them out of American Electric Power. So any support you can give us on that would be helpful. They have finished the Buffalo Mines Harewood area. That is complete. Here's Claypool, Cow Hollow area off 151. They're doing some work in there. They've done some work down here from Loveton down toward Shipman. And then they've done some work coming out of Shipman down to Williamstown and Variety Mills. They're making good progress down in there. So those areas that we know they're active in. Here's some other areas that we've turned over to them where they haven't started work. Along Roseland Road, Dark Hollow, along Porcello Road and up around Massey's Mill, Blade Road, down out of Schuyler. This is Glade Road West, coming over Honey Lodge Road where it ties back into Shipman. Here's Taylor's Creek up at Athens. and a little bit of, Salem Road, Rockfish Crossing down outside of Scout. All of these, the engineering is complete and we've written checks. Right now, APCO has about $600,000 that we've paid them for work that they haven't gotten signed yet to be complete. So the problem's not having it engineered, it's not having the money, it's just getting crews out to get the work done. So we're encouraging them daily and weekly, calling everybody we can at AEP and asking them to send us some help, because as soon as they get their work done, we can get our work done. We asked them last year to finish this work in August. It's the second week of July. And you can see that we've got several areas that haven't even been in yet. So for us to get to that map in blue by the end of the year, we need APCO pace. And we fall in, when they turn over an area to us, we put contractors in and build it out quickly after that, but we really are dependent on them getting there, make ready work done ahead of time. So let's just note about what I just told you. We asked for those first areas to be finished in December. They finished them after that. They've been behind a little bit. This isn't to throw AEP under the bus so much as to just let you know where we stand. That's the only thing holding us up. And they have been paid to do the work. We just need them to get work done. We've created a project page underneath our fireflyva.com main page, the RISE project. Under that page, there are links on the logos for every county we work in. So if you want to know what's going on in Nelson County, you can go to that website and you can find these specific maps and updates on where we are in terms of construction. Real quickly, we have a town hall scheduled for the 28th of June. July, I'm sorry. We finished June. Yeah. Buffalo Mines, Harewood Road will be one of the areas that will be in that town hall. We do virtual town halls. We used to do them live. We'll get back to live soon. Although the virtual works pretty well because it lets people who can't get there in person also participate. We do a town hall when we move into an area to start construction, just as we started, so that people will know what to expect from the service drop being connected to their house, where it'll go, how we deal with any impediments there, what it looks like, what to expect on the outside of your house, and then what to expect inside your house when you schedule and we come in to put in the router and set up the service. So it's a question and answer session after the little presentation, and we'll send that invite to Gary and have her send along to you if you'd like to sit in on this one or any of the others that we have. That's a really quick run through of where we are. I'll be glad to take any questions. Jeff?
So on this map, I know you've got some delays with AEP at the moment. But let's say everything works out with AEP. They get the crews, you get going. This comes to fruition December 31st of this year. What's the difference between that map and the residents in that map being able to stream board meetings and being able to pull up Netflix or whatever? What's the timeline difference between the last person getting hooked up on this blue map and them actually having lit in their home?
So when we finish splicing in an area, generally the service extensions will start within 30 to 60 days after that. So as we finish Massey's Mill in September with splicing, we'll start connections either in October or November. If we can finish splicing in August, we'll start in September, October. Because part of scheduling in. Then the next hold up is the number of services you can put in a week without overloading the 811 marketing system. Because a lot of them have underground components and you can only have so many a day there. So that limits us somewhat, but we get to them as quick as we can and put them in after that. I would anticipate by the first quarter of next year, we'll have everybody online who wants to be online in Nelson County. Our goal is to have at least all the CBC members on this year. And there aren't that many more to go in and finish up. As of today, we've got those 403 areas I've talked to you about. And we probably have another, well, we have, I think another 400 or 500 in Massey's Mill signed up when we get up there to start connecting. So we'll end up with another 1,000, 1,500 in the county to connect before year end. And we may not get to all of those just from the fund. But we'll get to them by the first quarter of next year.
Just as a side note for you to be aware, and maybe they're supposed to be saying this, but your customer service phone people, your answering people probably, they're still telling some people 2024 in Nelson County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will update it. We're not gonna be 2024. These areas, depending on when Dominion builds this piece, we've got to wait for Dominion to build first and then we build after them. They have that plan for next year. If it's built late, there may be some 2024, but it's not gonna be the big area.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about.
Okay. I'll be glad to bring that up. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, Nelson County is further ahead of the curve. 2024 and 2025 is not an unusual date in some of the other counties.
If no one else has any questions, I did have a couple comments, Mr. Carty.
Yes, there's somebody inside, doesn't
All right. One of the items that we had done at the Broadband Authority, and of course is expediting internet connection, is of course a health, safety, and educational piece for all of us and our children in Nelson County. One thing that we pushed in the Broadband Authority is to write a letter to APCO as well as Norfolk Southern and reminding them and also putting pressure on any entities that may be regulators, whether that, I don't know, the SEC, Transportation, hopefully Firefly and CDSI could coordinate with us. It is my suggestion that this board complement that with a similar letter, if not the same, just so that we can put some more pressure on getting APCO to do the make ready so that places in Piney River and Montebello and Arrington, and sounds great that Skylar's finally getting it, because this is an impediment on, people's ability to function. And our job, is to, of course, push as hard as we can. And this is one mechanism we have the ability to do as a board, is start writing letters to those groups. Another further suggestion I have is coordinating with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission and speaking with our legislative liaison and hopefully writing and drafting a letter with our respective legislators, such as Matt Ferris and John Avoli and Creed Deeds, to also put pressure on both the regulatory groups and these corporations so that we can expedite this to be done. Like I said, our commitment was to get this done this year. We want to see it get done this year. And as we had said when we had committed to this, getting this done, please let us know what we need to do, and this is what we need to do. So is the board supportive of doing that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Mr. Hart, I have a question. Who the regulatory groups you speak?
He had mentioned the transportation secretary. We'll coordinate with them of who they might be. And I'm not sure if there's a railroad one.
The SEC does some railroad regulation, not much. And the transportation secretary has some interaction. It's mainly bullet pulpit type activity in the state. They're regulated at the federal level somewhat, but these railroad crossings have minimal direct oversight. On the other hand, the railroads tend to be responsive when some people call, more responsive than when I call.
Right. So I think on top of that, since I know you had mentioned in the prior meeting, railroads are typically more often federally regulated, we'll go to the congressional side of that as well and see if we can get him to write a complimentary letter and do a constituent inquiry for us. All right, good. So board, are we good with that? Candy, if you could draft something up, and we'll meet with Mr. Strong and coordinate, and Mr. Creekmore, and we'll get some pressure out for you, hopefully in the next week. Any other questions for Mr. Wood at this time?
Just any of the smaller sections that kind of got missed, I know, for example, Pine River Substation to 56, little areas like that, we can kind of get those.
So I didn't bring maps up, but we have an area along Jenny's Creek. We have that little area right at 56 and 151 where it comes together around the substation. We've got a little area right at Colleen There's a few EPCO locations that are north of the health center there on the side of 29 on both sides. Wilson Hill Road down in Arrington. All of those are included in the areas that we've turned over to EPCO, and some of them have had a little bit of work done, but we're monitoring all of those to make sure we get them as well.
All right, Mr. Wood, Mr. Crickman.
Did I miss anything?
Well, thanks, you covered it well.
Thank you so much for letting us.
Great job. Thank you, guys. Please keep us apprised, and we'll look forward to coordinating with you all on drafting some letters and putting some pressure. Thank you all. Okay, moving on to the TJPDC Regional Transit Plan, Lucinda. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
See, we were already talking about the TJPDC today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all over the place.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm Lucinda Shannon. I'm with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. I'm a regional planner there. And I'm here to talk about the Regional Transit Vision Plan. It's a plan that we've been doing for about a year now. I'm going to go over the background to give you a little bit of background about the plan, how it was started. It's a technical assistance grant through the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, and the matching funds are provided by Albemarle County and the City of Charlottesville. They kind of initiated this and came to the TJPDC to manage it because it's a regional study. And then some of the comments that we got during our first round of engagement included more rural integration into the plan. We had a stakeholder meeting pretty early on, and so right in our very first kind of steps, we engaged a bunch of stakeholders, and people were really engaged and wanted to see more outreach to the rural counties and have more involvement with the rural counties. So we were sure to include them in the plan and the networks as we developed it. We are presenting to all of the Board of Supervisors, which is why I'm here today. And we've also been doing some focus groups. I did a focus group in Nelson County with this older adults to hear about their needs for transit as well through this initiative. So I just want to give a little bit more background. The vision study is kind of like the vision of what we would like to see transit in our region look like. And then the next step to that would be how would we fund it and how would we decide how those funds were spent and prioritize the services. So this vision study is going to say, like, here's what we want transit to look like. Here's where we want the buses to go. Here's how we want them to run. And then the next step would be a transit governance study, which would say this is how we could fund it and implement it. And that was actually great news. We had that funded as well through the Department of Rail and Public Transportation. And again, Albemarle County and the City of Charlottesville have been so generous in supporting a 50% matching fund for that study, as well as this one. So that study is going to also include the rural counties, and I'll be coming back to you with more on that as we engage consultants and start working on that as well. We want to make sure that the rural counties are included from the very beginning, and we're planning this for everybody in the entire TJPDC region. So our first round of public engagement for this asked the community what they'd like to see for transit in the region. And we came up with the three themes of equity, multimodality, and climate change. And so equity is expanding opportunities for all residents, and that the services represent the needs of both the urban and the rural communities. Again, we really heard from the rural communities that they wanted to be engaged in this. The next multimodality, the next kind of theme that we heard from the community was to reduce resilience on automobiles. And then the third was climate change to help protect the environment. We really heard a strong movement of people who were very engaged in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and using transit to do that. Transportation in this region is one of the larger sources of greenhouse gases, so it's a good area to address those types of, to reduce greenhouse gases because it's such a large producer. So we had a 3-day kind of workshop with the 3 transit providers, CAT, John, and the University of Transit Services. And we asked them what the network should look like, kind of, you know, how if they could go where they wanted to go and money was no object, how would their routes look, what they look like. And we wanted to, the regional transit partnership is kind of the leader, the committee that's leading this initiative. And they wanted to make sure that this vision was something that we could implement and not just kind of like something that would be nice, you know, but not really have any tangible effects. So we developed a constrained vision and an unconstrained vision. So the constrained vision is something that we feel like this region can afford. And then the unconstrained vision is like dream big, you know, what would you love to see if money was no object? And we developed the network for both of those scenarios. The constrained vision is based on the system that the Central Virginia Transit Authority uses for raising funds. So we looked at like what they're doing to bring transit funding into their region, and if we could replicate that system, then we could bring in about $30 million additional dollars for the TJPDC region to implement this transit vision plan. So that's what we based our constrained vision on, was that budget. And the governance study, which will be starting in a few months, the next step, will be looking at how that would work for us. Like, because we're different than Central Virginia, so, you know, how would our local governments want to see that enacted? What in our environment would be a good structure to make those decisions and to be able to raise those funds? So that's kind of the next step. And then the unconstrained vision, as I said, is just kind of the big picture of, you know, if we could do anything, what would we do? And that came out to be about $70 million. So currently we spend about $20 million on transit in our region, and the constrained vision would look at about $30 million, and the unconstrained vision came up to about $70 million a year. Some of these slides I just wanted to have in your packet in case you wanted more details. I'm not going to go into the different types of on-demand transit. So the constrained vision, and this is a map of the rural areas for the constrained vision, and it's really tiny. But on the left-hand side is the existing services as they are now, and on the right-hand side would be the constrained services that we predict that we would like to see happen. And so that would have more, like Route 7 would operate every 20 minutes. It'd be a lot more frequency for the fixed routes that are in the city. And then I'm going to skip to the rural areas. So your Lovingston circulator, currently it runs Monday and Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that usually they pick up in the morning, and then the person is there in Charlottesville all day, and it drops off in the evening. So it's a really long day for people. And with the constrained vision, the circulator service would run from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, even on Sundays, which was something that we heard in the focus group was really important to people. The people who can't drive are often taking this service into Charlottesville for medical services, and they get picked up in the morning, and then they're at their doctor's office all day until 3 o'clock or at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they get picked up to be taken home. And it's a really long day for somebody who is not feeling well, and, you know, is kind of stuck there. So this would be, the services would be every 60 minutes. So it would be a tremendous difference for people who are dependent.
Would this service just go to Livingston? Is this what?
So yeah, in Nelson County, the service, actually I can go back to the map. The little brown lines go to all of the different areas. So in Nelson County, there's a service that goes door to door. John runs it right now, and so that's every day, and it would take people, within the county. But if you want to go into Charlottesville, you need to take the Livingston, like from Livingston into Charlottesville. So you could take the circulator service that would go from your door into Livingston, and then from Livingston, take the Connect service into the city of Charlottesville.
Where Nelson is like halfway between Lynchburg and Charlottesville. Is there cooperation between Charlottesville and Lynchburg?
That's a really good question, and I'm gonna make a note of that. Currently, this survey, like this study, goes into Buckingham County. It doesn't go into Lynchburg, unfortunately. It goes into Buckingham County because John serves Buckingham County right now, but
So there's no service in Lynchburg at this time?
no.
Well, a lot of the people who would work in Charlottesville live in the southern part of the county. Like the Heritage Center would be a good place for accumulation of, the job buses stop there. Would you consider that also, just?
Yeah, so where was it?
Heritage Center.
The Heritage Center?
Yep.
Okay.
I think, Skip, to kind of point out where you're going with it, I don't know what the version of Jaunt is for the Lynchburg service area. I'm sure they have something, but based on the kind of the planning districts, this is kind of more based off of the Charlottesville metropolis area. And it's a strange thing, because I agree, Livingston is 50-50, as someone who went to school in Lynchburg, I always have known the Lynchburg metropolis area. But I think that would be, maybe you guys can coordinate a conversation and introduce.
Southern part of the county, there are people who work in Charlottesville. I would say more people work in Charlottesville than in Lynchburg. And I just wanted you to think about that in the center.
Yeah, I made a note, and I'm gonna bring that back to the consultants. Yeah, I think that, we need to kind of draw boundaries, like a line of, where the study would cover. And unfortunately, Lynchburg didn't fall within that area. But it's a really good point, because you're right. I mean, many parts of the county are much closer to Lynchburg than Charlottesville, so. It's a good
But
point.
those people work in Charlottesville, so it needs to be a connection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that I notice is that in all of the outlying counties surrounding Charlottesville, you have service into the center of the county, but the farther away you get to the boundaries on the perimeters, the less service is there. And certainly, given the fact that TJPDC is supposed to serve our entire county, it would be good to see service in our locality, in the Arrington area, in the the south part of the county as well. But I'm not speaking for the other counties, but it looks like they have the same problem, although they don't lie 50-50 like we do in terms of Lynchburg, which gives us another piece of a puzzle that's pretty much unexplored so far.
Yeah, well, let me move forward to the other, the unconstrained map. So if you look at this map, you can see on the right-hand side is the unconstrained version. And so those blue routes are every 60 minutes, and there's like a yellow kind of fuzzy area around kind of the main city. And those are micro transit areas. So again, like kind of the plan for the rural areas is there would be the circulator service that would be John's door-to-door service for people who need it. then there'd be like a main route connection from a small urbanized area into like Livingston, into the city of Charlottesville. And then there also are some micro transit areas where it's like Uber, except it's run by a public service, so it's cheaper and it's regulated. And that would be where you could use an app on your phone, the computer, or the telephone to schedule a ride. And the times that we would aim for would be 15 minutes. The circulator service that you currently have now is probably at least 24 hours to make a reservation. So those are some of the improvements that we would see if we were able to enact some of these networks. So again, the fixed route service that would go into Livingston would be every 60 minutes and 7 days a week. There'd be the on-demand transit zones. And for Nelson County, you can see we tried to do like a proximity of like people, the transit to residents and transits to jobs. And because it's a rural area, like people, when it's spread out and there's such low density, it's difficult to have kind of fixed route traditional transit. It's not really set up for that. But you can see that the unconstrained version would have an increase of about 5% of people would be able to take transit to their jobs. Currently, there's no percent of people taking there. I mean, there are, but with the consultants kind of system that they set up to measure it, it's not like unmeasurable amount right now. So, and it would be fixed route. So I'm just going to wrap up with telling you what we're doing right now. This is towards the end of the study, and we're presenting to all the rural counties. We presented to Albemarle and the city of Charlottesville. We hosted a public meeting. Currently today we're doing a event at the transit center. It's kind of like an open house, and we want to make sure that we are engaging people who are riding the buses. So we're out there surveying them today. We also did several focus groups of people who are populations who are transit dependent. We've got an online survey that we're asking everybody to take, and we will be doing some pop-up events at popular bus stops like Wegmans. A lot of people take the bus to Wegmans, so we'll be there a couple of days when the bus arrives to ask people to take our survey. And the survey ends July 22nd, and then we'll kind of write a final report and present it to the Regional Transit Partnership. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you so much. Of course, the conversation of transit is a very big deal in our rural community. In Nelson County, I would easily argue, doesn't just serve one metropolis area or even two, it serves several. I mean, my family, especially my family who lived on the Faber side of the town, they all worked at DuPont for many years. And they worked over in the valley. And so you have really three metropolis areas that Nelson County services. And one big benefit that, you know, I always like to point out when it comes to our situation relative to other counties is we are serviced by a interstate resource, 29. A lot of counties do not have that luxury, so mass transit has a lot more opportunity. You know, of course, you know, I've always thought of the conversation. I don't think it ever would happen, but it's always a dream of what would a depot look like in Shipment again, you know, as neat of a conversation. But, you know, as we look to the future, what does it look like when a community has broadband internet completely connected? Well, you know what, maybe you can have a job in New York City with only 5 to 6 hours of transit to there, you know, that you go to work 2 days a week or something of that nature. I don't know. But as we do look to the future, transit is going to be a very interesting topic and a very big one. And of course, that all pertains to how we work, how we play, and how, you know, children get educated. So thank you so much. And any other questions at this time for Lucinda? Hearing none, hopefully, Lucinda, maybe if you could outreach to Skip at some point in the future to talk a little bit more about that Lynchburg metropolis area.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the Virginia Cooperative Extension Report. Oh, that's right. We have with us, Grace. Hopefully, I see you can talk about lantern flies today. I feel like I've been seeing these since my childhood. I don't know why we're.
I certainly don't know.
Hi, I am Grace Munger. I am your local agriculture extension agent as provided by Virginia Tech and the state and by the county. And I'm very happy to be here and thank you very much for having me here to do the work that I do. I focus primarily on horticulture and invasive species management. This is the report that I included in the program for the board. I have a much longer report here with me, but not everybody wants to see that. So I wanted to bring to your attention a few programs that I've done since I started in January. First and foremost, the picture on the left was taken at Saunders Brothers during a regional interview for the Swisher Sunbelt Farmer of the Year. I nominated Robert Saunders as a consensus from his brothers at the operation for a National Agricultural Award. Robert won at the Virginia level and is going on to represent Virginia and Nelson County on the national stage for Farmer of the Year. It's a really big deal in the agricultural world, and we're very proud of him. His national tour is scheduled for early August, and we will go to Moultrie for an Ag Expo in October to hear the results. But to win at the Virginia level it's very competitive and it's a very big deal anyway, so we're very proud of him. I do really enjoy the nomination process. I really like getting farmers recognized for all the work that they do. And so I'm probably going to keep doing this, and this will probably be in every report because we have plenty of people here that work very hard and should get recognized for the work that they do. I'm not going to talk about all of this. Let's see. I've helped with Virginia Beef Roundup or Beef Expo, which is over in Harrisonburg, but we have lots of local young farmers that participate in that. I've also coordinated with other agents the Central Virginia Livestock Show and Sale, or CVLS, which occurs in Lynchburg, and lots of our kids show at that too. Commercial tree fruit school is a big thing that's been going on in the county for a few decades. We're a big tree fruit production industry here that hosts specialists to come and give seasonal updates to local farmers, and it's a full day conference for our farmers provided here in Livingston. The Livingston Fire Hall was generous enough to donate their space for us this year, so we were able to host about 50 farmers there. I'm also particularly proud of my master gardeners. They went through a little bit of a rough patch a couple years ago, but they are bouncing back. The 2021 impacts have absolutely nothing to do with me. I had not started yet, but they volunteered over 2,000 hours, which is more than one full-time staff member. These are primarily retired people who are volunteer garden educators, donating their time to help citizens in Nelson County. We are totally on track to exceed that in 2022. We're evaluating projects and hopefully including some more projects. One of the ones that I'm excited about is they're going to help me teach beginning gardener courses in the demo garden at the Nelson Center where my office is. So they're essential to my program. I'm very lucky to have them. We actually have 10 or 11 more trainees that will start this year. That's very exciting. Maybe one day we'll be as big as Albemarle, but we gotta start small. The last thing I want to talk about before I answer questions is this spotted lanternfly problem. So spotted lanternfly is an invasive pest. It came over from Asia. It has a preferred host of the tree of heaven or tree of paradise. And it's particularly nasty. It's a huge threat to the horticulture industry. It's a huge threat to the wine growth industry and to the commercial horticulture industry. There is not a lot we can do about it other than slow the spread. We had a detection in North Garden in early June. which is separate from the population just southwest of Charlottesville. So a lot of the industry is very concerned about this, and in extension, our job is to educate and provide resources to combat things like this. VDAX has issued a new quarantine, which affects not just my growers, but also every other business that ships within the county. If you're shipping something that's on that listed materials to Albemarle and you bring your vehicle back, there's an inspection process. VDAX handles inspection training, growers and participants self-inspect, and we educate and follow up and track the spread. So the quarantine was expanded to include Albemarle, Augusta, Rockingham, Rockbridge County, and the city of Lynchburg. We are right in the middle of that. And so the theory is that it's here and we just haven't seen it yet. If this gets into a vineyard and is left unchecked, it can kill the vineyard in about a year, in about a season. There's some pretty devastating pictures from Pennsylvania. I would really hate to see that happen to our vineyards or our orchards or our commercial horticulture production. So VDAX and Virginia Cooperative Extension are kind of heading the fight on this. But I just wanted to make you aware that that's something that's on our doorstep, and we're doing everything we can do about it. The best thing to do about it is get rid of the tree of heaven, but that's a huge task. So, questions?
So is it gonna be like as bad as what's that moth that we had back?
Gypsy moth.
Gypsy moth?
Yeah,
So like, is it gonna like make mountains go dead like that?
so gypsy moth is an invasive caterpillar moth that was introduced and had some pretty devastating effects in forest ecosystems. As far as we know, spotted lanternfly doesn't have the same effect in forest ecosystems, but it's going to have an effect in the horticulture industry.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're also seeing a slight uptick in gypsy moth activity this year because we had a little bit of a warmer season. But the experts are not concerned about that. We're still tracking that, so.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
So I have a question, because I cut down 3 huge ailanthus trees yesterday. Because that's the main host of the lanternfly, it would seem that if there was a little more focus on ailanthus at the vector level, that it would provide some buffer and it would take care of 2 invasives at the same time.
That's the goal. The catch is that ailanthus is a very aggressive invasive tree weed, and I hope that you treated them when you cut them down because it's kind of like black locust. If you've ever cut down a black locust tree, it just springs up in a rain, except worse. So ailanthus is the preferred host of spotted lanternfly. They produce significantly more eggs per egg mass per adult female if they get to feed on ailanthus at that bright spot in their growth cycle. However, it's not a required host. They like grape really well. They like wild grape pretty well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting rid of ailanthus. I will fully support that. It's not enough. They do prefer to hitchhike. They're very good at human-assisted transport. So that's part of the reason for the quarantine, is the inspection, to make sure you're not taking it to new places. The recommendation for most of my commercial growers is that if you can't really control it everywhere on your property, that you control ailanthus at your distribution centers, to make sure if you get a population there, that you deal with it. So most of my vineyards have detection traps up at the distribution centers. They have distribution traps on ailanthus because the insect is attracted to it, and they're tracking it. So having the traps up and having nothing in the traps is a good thing. It's just as good to have a negative report as it is to have a positive report. We want to know where it's not, and it's not in Nelson County.
One more thing. Um, uh, This isn't on your, I didn't see it on your presentation, but it just so happens in the last couple of weeks, I've heard from a couple of landowners who live in the Rockfish River corridor, both north and south. And they have a significant problem with Japanese knotweed. And I know you're aware of it. I don't think we need to do a tutorial on that today. But they were reaching out to me for assistance, and they asked me, is that something that's appropriate to bring up during the comprehensive plan that we're doing to try to get more people to pay attention to the problems of what knotweed is doing along the Rockfish River corridor?
So, yes and no. I am always in support of having the community look at the invasive species problems that we have there. They're a huge economic draw out of the county. Spend a lot of money managing that, and especially in the agriculture business. We probably have a bigger problem countywide with other invasives than knotweed, but it's certainly a problem. Just send them a and we'll put them in touch with specialists and see what we can do. That's what we're here for. So don't let them take up too much of your time. I also wanted to say that we have 3 other staff members who are not here today. Lucinda McGrath, and a dedicated administrative assistant for 16 years in the Nelson County office. We are so lucky to have her. Also, Eric Bowen is out on emergency leave today, unfortunately. He is an agriculture extension agent like myself with a focus in animal science, and he's based out of the Amherst office but serves Nelson. And then Erin Harris is our 4-H youth extension agent, and she just got back from 4-H camp, which was a roaring success. So that is all that I have.
All right, thank you so much. Before we get to the VDOT report, we do have some folks here that I just kind of wanted to, since they've been sitting here, the baseball team. Are you guys okay with just pulling that up for the VDOT report? Hearing none. Jennifer, why don't you bring this team on up real quick?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jennifer Fitzgerald. I live at 174 Capitol Mountain Lane, Arrington. Today I come before you to ask for support of 3 Nelson County High School student athletes that will be representing Virginia next week in Louisiana in the pre-major 16 ball series. These 16 and 17-year-old young men will not only be proudly representing Virginia, but also Nelson County. Last year, you supported our efforts and our team, finishing 5th out of 17 teams in the 15-year-old category. We will be traveling next week more than 13 hours and over 900 miles one way to play on the fields of the University of Louisiana in Monroe, as well as the Sterlington-Dixie Complex. As I stated in the letter that I presented to you, most of our players have never played on a collegiate field, and this will be quite a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them. These 3 young men all work full-time jobs during the summer and also practice 4 and sometimes 5 nights a week. Their love for baseball and dedication to their team really shows on the field. Baseball is not just a game. It teaches many life skills such as determination, teamwork, work ethic, how to deal with pressure, respect, and leadership. We have a team of 11 athletes ready to play hard and win. I want to introduce our players. Please stand as I call your name. Michael Fitzgerald. He's a rising senior at Nelson County High School, left-handed pitcher, first base, and outfielder. Quentin Page, rising senior at Nelson County High School, right-handed third baseman and outfielder. Kevin Micklem, rising senior at Nelson County High School, right-handed pitcher, catcher, second baseman, and outfielder. As you can see, we have players that can play any position on the field and feel good about our teams. We look forward to competing against some of the best teams in the Dixie program. As we ask that you consider supporting our team in the memorable adventure. Thank you.
Great. I'll just go ahead and take this out real quick. What is needed? If you could tell us where they're fundraised at and all that currently.
We've been old school. We've done car washes, bake sales. We've approached businesses and things like that.
So far, we've reached about $3,500, so we have 11 players. So what we were proposing is, last year, the board was generous enough, we had 5 players from Nelson, and we gave us $1,000 each. So gas prices are $1 more a gallon this year than they were last year. So we're saying maybe 1,500 if possible, but if not, that's okay.
That's your 1,500 ahead, or each kid?
For each
Or-
one.
4,500 total, okay. All right. We're excited for you guys. We're rooting for you. What does the board want to do? It's the chair's suggestion that we do 45.
It's 500 less.
Good.
So there's only 4.
Well,
That's
we had one that had to, excuse himself from the tournament, so we had family obligations. We're down to 3 from Nelson.
Okay.
All right, so is there any action the board wishes to take this time? All right, so then we have a motion to approve $1,500 per child, young adult. Yeah, young adult. As I say, they're all taller than me, so. It's a per ball player. We have a motion, we have a second.
The wonderful thing about baseball is it teaches you to anticipate what's gonna happen before it happens. Unfortunately, the other day when we had our meeting, I didn't anticipate what was gonna happen, but that's another story. I certainly support you, playing baseball. It's a great learning experience.
Is that a
It
second?
teaches failure as well as success, as you know.
All right, is that a second?
Yes.
Okay, second from Ms. Barton, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition and abstentions? Hearing none, we expect a thorough report.
Good job.
Once you guys go. So everyone give these guys a round of applause. Great. Yeah, sure, come on up, guys. Actually, what we'll do is we're gonna go into a quick reset before VDOT report.